Jujutsu Infinite is a huge game, and there's a lot of content to cover, so I'm gonna be going over absolutely everything you need to know, from leveling to curse techniques, domain expansions and maximum techniques, chants, ultimate moves, and just a lot of other stuff. I'm gonna start by explaining how to level up and like the beginner stuff, and as the video goes on, I'm gonna be explaining the more advanced mechanics, like how to get your domain and the final bosses and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get started. So right after completing the tutorial, the first thing the game wants you to do is roll for Innates. And currently there's 5 rarities of Innates in the game, but the main ones you'll want are either legendary or special grade Innates, because obviously they are far superior to the normal ones. Although there are some viable like rare and uncommon abilities, but you'll still want to try to get the rare ones. Currently there's 6 special grades in the game, which are Infinity, which is Gojo, Demon Vessel for Sukuna, Soul Manipulation for Mahito, Star Rage for Yuki, Gamble Fever for Hakari, and Curse Queen for Yuta. In order to get spins, you can either use codes, buy them with Robux, get them from the daily rewards, get them from daily quests, or just AFK in the AFK round. Now, another thing you can do with Robux is buy more innate slots, which means you can have up to 3 or 4 innate techniques at once. Personally, if you have like good innates, you don't really need more than like 2 to 3 because they all have a lot of moves anyway. And keep in mind, you have an 8 move limit, so if you have 4 innates, that's only 2 moves for each innate, but it just depends on what playstyle you're gonna use. Now, the other game pass in the innate section is the innate bag, which if you played Shinobi Life, it's kind of like the bloodline bag, where every single innate you ever rolled is stored in like a menu, and from all the innates you've ever rolled, you can switch them out freely into any slots. Now, the last kind of ability is Heavenly Restriction. Now, unfortunately, this is a game pass and it's only obtainable with 1700 Robux, but in return, you're able to invade others' domains, and it's just a really powerful moveset. But the catch is, you can't use any other innates with it, and also you can't use any curse techniques with it, which includes stuff like Divergent Fist, Veil, and other stuff. Hopefully they're gonna add an obtainment method for later, but I don't know. But alright, after you've rolled your innates, you can finally finish your character and hop in. Once you're in the main lobby, you can start leveling up. Now, currently there's a lot of ways to level up, but if you're just starting out, I'd recommend you to complete the storyline, which carries on all the way to max level whilst you're completing quests on the side. And the storyline also gives you a free nerf domain expansion as well as a maximum scroll, which I'll get into later. Also, once you reach level 60, you can start increasing your grade, which is really important when leveling up, as once you start increasing your grade, you'll start getting more advanced and harder quests with better rewards. Other methods to level up are doing your daily quest, which I would recommend because it gives you a bunch of XP when you're starting out, and the other ways to level up are doing bosses and investigations, but they only unlock at around level 60. But personally, I would just focus on the storyline and the quests. Now, whilst you're leveling up, you'll unlock skill points, and with these skill points, you can upgrade your skill trees. Currently, there's 4 skill trees in the game, but use your skill points wisely, because even at max level, you can only really fully upgrade 2 skill trees with some points left over. Now, the first skill tree is health. In here, you'll find a bunch of health stat buffs, as this is the only way to upgrade your health besides wearing armor, and some important techniques like reverse curse technique, which heals you a lot, and other important health related skills like the arm sacrifice, which can save you from dying once per life. Moving on from the health tree, we have the focus tree, which mainly focuses I'm sorry. This tree mainly upgrades your black flash in all kinds of ways, as well as increasing your focus gain, which is the bar used to do black flashes, chants, and maximum techniques, which are more late game stuff, which I'll get into later in the video. Third, we have the technique tree, which, as you can probably guess, allows you to unlock a bunch of extra techniques. These include stuff like Cursed Reinforcement, Divergent Fist, Veil, and Simple Domain. This skill tree also buffs all your innate techniques damage, as well as being able to upgrade your domain and allow you to unlock chanting. Lastly is the strength tree, which mainly buffs your melee damage but also gives you some martial arts moves and upgraded dashes. If you're gonna be using Heavenly Restriction, I plan on upgrading the strength tree because you can actually use the strength moves with Heavenly Restriction. Now, we also have an innate section where you can buy and unlock new innate moves from the innates you already have unlocked, including unlocking the maximum techniques and also your domain expansions. But domains and maximums are a bit complicated to unlock, but to unlock standard innate moves, we need 2 things, which are money and mastery. Now, money is obtained from a lot of things like bosses, quests, selling items, codes, and investigations. And money is really valuable since when you get to the advanced moves, you're gonna need a lot of it, trust me. And the other thing we need is mastery, which works very similar to games like Blox Fruits, where if you're gonna upgrade the mastery of an item, you just have to hold that item and kill enemies with it. So if you're trying to upgrade the mastery of an innate, for example, just M1 whilst holding the innate ability and use the moves on that innate. There's also specific items you can find in chests which can upgrade the mastery of your innates. Moving on, let's talk about how to get weapons and armors, including the mythic weapons and armors. Most of these are obtained from doing either bosses or investigations. Currently, there's 6 bosses in the game, which are Fingerbearer, Dagon, Mahito, Jogo, Toji, and Heian Sukuna, in that order of difficulty. Each boss has its separate drops, and all of them have an insanely low chance to drop their best gear. Keep in mind, you can increase the difficulty on each boss fight, so you can get better drops, and you have higher chances to get their best stuff. But even on the nightmare difficulty of bosses, we're talking about a 1% chance for their special grade drops. And don't forget, these bosses are bosses. Like, we're talking about raid bosses where you kind of have to like learn the move sets before you can actually beat them. Luckily, you can fight bosses with up to 3 other players, but the more players fighting the boss, the more HP it has, so keep that in mind. But personally, it took me at least like 2 to 3 tries to finally beat the final boss, so good luck. Although the bosses are mainly giving you the armors and not the weapons, so if you want the weapons instead, you can do investigations, which like I talked about before are basically just long missions with some curses and mini bosses, and they also have extremely low chances of dropping the special grade items. If you get really unlucky and still don't get the items after like 50 tries, you can also just craft the items from the bosses and investigations, but you're still gonna have to go through the missions at least 50 times on the hardest difficulty just to have enough material to craft the special grade drops, so it is not easy at all. Moving on to the important items in the game, let's start with the buffs. If you didn't know, you can actually buff your luck when opening chests, and that can be done by using luck vials or beckoning cats. Luck vials are just a standard item found in chests, but the beckoning cats range from an uncommon drop, giving a 1.1 times luck boost, all the way up to a special grade drop, giving a 1.5 times luck boost. You can also stack one cat and a luck vial for 5% extra luck, but you can't stack multiple cats. There's also a bunch of other vials, like the damage, focus, health, and agility vials, which all just buff their respective stats. And then we have the gourds, which are basically just stronger versions of the vials. And we also have the rage gourd, which gives you 40% more damage, but instead you also take 40% more damage. But in exchange, you also get lifesteal, because each time you kill a mob, you heal 2.5%. And lastly, there's the fortune gourd, which gives you 2 times cash and XP, and an additional 100% luck boost for one chest. The last luck-based item is the lotuses. There are 4 types in the game, and these guarantee a chest to contain a specific rarity of drops or higher. For example, the white lotus guarantees all drops to be uncommon or higher. And the rarest one is the iridescent lotus, which guarantees special grade drops. But the item itself is a unique, which is extremely rare. Like, we're talking a 0.1% chance from chests. Moving on to the special grade and progression items. First, we have the demon fingers, or just Sukuna fingers. They used to help upgrade your grade, but that was removed. So now all they're really used for is trading and buying stuff in the cursed market, so they're not really that good. Next are the domain shards and maximum scrolls. First, let's talk about the domain. As you'd expect, domain shards allow you to unlock any one domain you have available from your innates. As in, you need to have one of the few curse techniques that can actually unlock a domain. Although, if you don't have an innate with a domain, you can just wait until you get one and then use the item, so... Now, the item itself is a unique drop. You can also just find them around the map extremely rarely, or trade for them in the cursed market, which I'll talk about more later. Lastly, you can also get a budget version of a domain shard by completing the storyline. At the end of the storyline, you get an item that gives you a domain which kind of acts like normal domains, except the catch is it doesn't have any like special effects. For example, like Jogo's domain, it burns, so instead I'm pretty sure it just buffs your damage and defense by a bit. It's not really supposed to be your ultimate ability, it's kind of just used to like clash clash with someone else's domain in case you don't actually have an innate that has one. And yes, there is domain clashing if you didn't know, which is actually pretty cool. All you have to do is just press the keys at the right time and hit the purple part most to win. The other unique item is the maximum scrolls. These are obtained the same way as the domain shards, but instead unlock a maximum technique. Like the domain shard, you can also get a maximum scroll from the storyline, which unlike the nerfed domain shard actually gives you just a full-on maximum technique. But in order to cast the maximum techniques themselves, you'll need black flashes. But it's a pretty weird mechanic, which I'll talk about in a little bit when I get to Chants. There's also 2 special grade buff items which can give you awakenings and an energy nature. The first is the purified cursed hand, which can either drop from chests or be sold in the cursed market. This item unlocks a random awakening, which are basically just permanent stat or move buffs. There's 3 rarities, which are common, which are a 70% chance, rares, which are a 20%, or legendaries, which are a 10%. Keep in mind, if you get unlucky and roll a bad awakening, you can just re-roll your awakening by using another cursed hand if you find one. The 2 legendary awakenings are the black flash arms, which give you 8% more damage on black flashes and also change how they look, and the burn scars, which firstly gives you a passive called cursed vision, which indicates if someone can use their domain, and it also gives you some ninja related passives that give you movement buffs. And lastly, if you have heavily restriction, the red color of your moves get changed to barf green for some reason. The other item is the energy nature scroll, which gives you 1 random energy nature. The item is obtained the same way as the cursed hand and also has the same rarity systems, which includes 2 legendaries. The first one being rough, which causes your heavy attacks to proc bleed and also do 5% more damage and do 8% more knockback. And the way cooler nature, which is electric, which is basically just Kashimu's technique. The electric nature buffs your divergent fist and also your cursed reinforcement. When you use divergent fist, it procs lightning M1s, which basically just do more damage. And if you do cursed reinforcement, it just performs an electric AoE shock move. Now, moving on to the chanting system. Oh yeah! So like I stated before, chants are unlocked in the technique tree. But in order to actually use the chants themselves, you need to activate your focus tree to unlock the black flashes. Once you unlock the focus tree, you'll notice you have at least 3 focus bars. To fill these up, you simply have to deal damage with M1s or techniques. And after you fill a bar, you can either use your reverse curse technique to consume the bar, perform a black flash by being in shift lock mode and then pressing M2 and R on your keyboard, or use a chant by also being in shift lock mode, pressing M2 and the key move at the same time. For example, M2 and X or M2 and R, depending on where it is. Keep in mind, chanting only works on specific moves. So when you have 1 full focus bar, whichever moves turn purple are able to be chanted. And chants basically just buff the damage of your moves, but in the case of maximum techniques and awakenings, you'll need black flash tokens. To get a token, you have to hit someone with a black flash and make sure you hit it, cause if you miss, you just wasted a focus bar. So after hitting someone with one, you get 1 token. But for basically all the maximum techniques, you'll need at least 3 tokens, which means you need to hit 3 black flashes. If you want to make it easier to fill up your bars, I'd recommend upgrading your focus tree, cause that's where you can fill it up faster. But after you finally get 3 tokens, you'll notice the move becomes unlocked and you can actually use it. Just make sure not to miss it or you'll just have wasted it. You can also awaken 6 Eyes and High and Sukuna and probably future modes with 3 black flash tokens, and they both have their own special ultimate moves. In order to use both of their special moves, you'll technically need 5 focus bars. 3 for the black flash tokens for the mode and 2 for the chanted moves. For example, for Sukuna's World Cleave, you need to awaken, then land a chanted dismantle followed by a chanted cleave at the same time. And for Gojo's Hollow Nuke, you need to use 6 Eyes and then shoot up a chanted blue, and before the enemy can destroy your chanted blue, shoot up a chanted red and fuse it to create a hollow purple nuke. Alright, and lastly, let me talk about the Cursed Market. So the Cursed Market is found in Jujutsu High in the spawn area, and basically he just offers you a wide range of items which you can trade for other items. Often he's trading stuff like petrified hands, Sukuna fingers, and other goodies, and maybe if you're lucky, maybe like domain shards. And his shop refreshes every 6 hours, so hopefully you can get some good items from his wares. I'm not gonna lie, I kinda skipped over like 1 or 2 things like the rings and some accessories probably, but I think that was all the important stuff, so if I missed anything, let me know in the comments. But yeah, I'm tired, so I'm just gonna end the video here. See ya!